G'day everyone and welcome to another FTMA HR webinar. Today we are talking about everything that comes into effect as of Wednesday. There's quite a few different changes, some different in different states, but it's really important that members are aware of the changes and of course the new pay rates, which we've already sent out to everybody. So just to let everyone, I haven't done my normal presentation where I show off my amazing sponsors and everything. I apologise that we've just been a bit stretched for time at this moment. Last week, FTMA had an amazing tour in the ACT where we took our 18 government policy makers around to visit our three frame and trust plants. And it was great that at the end of the day, they were like, we don't have a supply issue, we have a demand issue. So it's really important that we continue to educate the policymakers and the key bureaucrats working on our industry. We've done one in New South Wales, Victoria and the ACT, and our next one will be in Queensland. So FTMA has been extremely busy since our national conference, and we're very excited with some of the projects we've got coming up in the new year. So Michael O'Shaughnessy, of course, from our HR Central partners, he's here today to go through a presentation and show everyone exactly all the changes. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, everybody. Marvellous Melbourne Monday to those in Melbourne, and marvellous Monday to those of you not in Melbourne, and welcome to today's webinar. A lot of information has been flying around over the last period of time. We'll try and summarise it for you as best we can. Importantly, this will be recorded and the slides made available. So whatever notes you can take, fantastic. But just know there'll be some other information sent post this, as well as what will be available on the portal. So this is a refresher. I always love to talk about myself a little bit. I don't get much of an opportunity. So this is the first chance I do. Bit of background there. So I've been around the block, so to speak. Very lucky, but where I get my most enjoyment value is dealing with businesses such as yourself, because we can have a direct line of sight and we're able to then really hopefully provide you the advice that can make a difference to your business, because I know how difficult it is just running the business side of things, let alone with the people side of things and the variations to the law that exist and how you're expected to understand that interpretation. And that, again, with our great partnership with the FTMA, is where we can really help you, is to remove that burden of uncertainty when it comes to these rules and regulations. We can provide you a lot of stuff, but no, through myself, be it Gabby or others across the board, we're here to help you in those situations where you're just not quite certain what to do. That's the advice we can really provide to you. So as Kirsten said, number of changes coming through on July the 1st, none of them necessarily wonderful news for small business. Reminder, I want to talk about some record keeping, and you might feel that I raise this topic every time we have an opportunity to speak. And the reason I do is because in between when we speak the last time and today, there's many more examples of where the Fair Work Ombudsman is going out there, and one of the first things they're asking is, do you have up-to-date timesheets? So let's not underestimate just how frequent that is. Part-time employees, again, a really good, I was going to use the word cautionary tale, but that'll come up in the topic afterwards, but a very interesting little matter. And what really is demonstrated in that example is the cost of not following something, even for something that you might categorize as not being overly extensive or exhaustive. The fines that can be imposed can be quite dramatic. And the last one, there's been a lot of talk recently about a harassment case. Over $125,000 was the fine issued towards a particular small business proprietor. And it's worth reminding you of what's needed to do in that set of circumstances. So that's the agenda. As Kirsten said, if you've got questions, whack them in the chat. We'll get to them either during the seminar or we can cover them at the end. So first and foremost, 4.5% wage increase, which is what the Fair Work Commission awarded. The pay period is the first full pay period to commence on or after 1 July. Just to clarify that, it's sort of till both July, but it's on or after 1 July. So if you've got a provider that does your payroll, please look at the FTMA portal. I believe that the new rates and allowances are up there as of now. If not, they'll be there tomorrow. And that then can ensure that you have the up-to-date rates. The other thing for those of you who, when you hire a new employee, you to provide a new information statement, the Fair Work information statement, that also is available on the portal. That's very important because, again, something as simple as, oh, well, it's only last year's, does it really matter? It does, because if the Fair Work are going to look for a breach, they'll say you issued the wrong information statement. And that's both for full-time and casuals. There's two separate statements. They've been sent to them, and it's terrific. Thank you, Kirsten, right across the board there with that detail. So again, if you haven't got any of those information, this is the time to reach out to Kirsten or ourselves to get what you need to get to. So that's the wage review. Important that that's passed through and systems updated. Payday super. We've talked about this now for a few months, but the actual date is fast approaching, being from 1 July. And the key component about this now is that the super payments, which used to be quarterly, now need to be done essentially concurrently with your pay period, so that they are received within 7 days of the payday that you provide for your particular employees. So it might take some time to get through the system, but the days of just accumulating and getting to the end of the quarter, and obviously this has a lot of implications for cash flow and other aspects of your business. It's really important that whoever you do your payroll through, or whatever systems, they should all be geared up for this. It's not something that's just been talked about in the last month. They've been talked about for some time. So it all should be systems that should be updated to cover this off. And again, thank you, Kirsten. Some great reminders here. We did have that session, I recall now, yes, about what's needed to be done. So keep across this. It's important. They may not give you much latitude when it comes to non-payment within that period, because remembering, they'll want to be able to demonstrate how well they are policing this particular aspect, because they wanted to make a big song and dance about the fact that this is to help employees, because all these bad employers weren't paying super, and this is a better way of being able to allow an employee to monitor whether or not those contributions are being made in a timely fashion. So payday super next week. The high income threshold, this relates to unfair dismissals. And what it means is if anyone's receiving in excess of $190,000, they will not be able to, unless under very extreme circumstances, access the Fair Work Commission when it comes to unfair dismissals. Now, one of those things around unfair dismissals, which the high income threshold is important, because again, that keeps people at above a certain level. But what the Fair Work Commission has found is that through the use of AI, people are throwing all sorts of different claims together when it comes to unfair dismissals. So if they're missing out on being able to apply through this mechanism, they churn it through AI and they come out with another method to try and get a claim heard, or they'll try another method. So there's ways that people are looking to circumvent the particular legislation, or if someone's less than 15 employees, there's limitations. What we're finding is a lot of employees are doing what they can to try and find a way, because it takes them next to no time to just ask ChatGPT or Claude or whatever their names are to put together an application and write something for them to submit. So it becomes really incumbent upon everyone here is that make certain that you use our resources when it comes to the step-by-step processes that you follow, so that in the event that someone does try and work around what we do, if we have to terminate someone, and we don't set out each day to do that, of course, that we've followed all the steps that we need to take. So I just wanted to make mention, most of the time, it's fantastic with the way that you ring in and seek confirmation of the steps you're following. We've done a lot of education, but each circumstance I know is a little bit different. And so use us in those circumstances where you're not entirely sure as to what may or may not apply, because that phone call to Kirsten or that email to us may take you 5 or 10 minutes, but might prevent an hour and a half trouble down the track. So please use this example here as a reminder to keep doing what you're doing when it comes to dismissals.
Yeah, Michael, I just wanted to add there that I did have a call from an employee of one of our members only 3 weeks ago saying, I entered into AI and this is what my employer is doing wrong. Can you help me? And I was like, no, I'm there to represent the employer, which I did reach out to that employer, by the way. But they are using AI as making anybody a lawyer these days. So, yeah, just be careful that you do cover yourself, because employees are turning to AI to look at their employment rights.
Yeah, and just on that note, I use it occasionally just to test things, and the amount of inaccurate information is pretty frightening. So if you think, oh, I just want to check something, and for example, I put in something in relation to the superannuation guarantee, which is still 12%, hasn't gone up, but it said that it was 11.5%. And so if I'd been an employer and, oh, it's only 11.5, I'm paying too much, suddenly I take off the 0.5%, the impact is significant in terms of what would be seen to be a deliberate act to reduce your superannuation guarantee amount. So the event that something does come, just a caution when it comes to the validity. And as Kirsten said, your employees are using it to try and find ways to exploit set of circumstances, but we're more likely to be a better source of the truth than what they might find out there in the on the wide web of information. Paid parental leave, as I said, didn't seem like there was a lot of great news to start with. If this is the government-funded paid parental scheme, has gone up to 130 days. Bit of bureaucratic work that we need to do when that does happen, but the most important things are that the employee is still responsible for setting off and starting the process. You just have to do the administration once it comes back your way. But this is not out of your pocket, so don't tumble into thinking it's something that you have to pay. Well, you do probably indirectly through our taxes, but not directly as an employer. So if your employer asks about this, it's Services Australia, and it's all done through that mechanism. And where our role, your role, is to administer the payments, not to be clearinghouse for monies to come in and monies to go out. So just be conscious of it's not like a work cover situation where you might be required to pay and then you get reimbursed. It's different. It's a direct payment in those sets of circumstances. So
and Michael, can I ask, during their time while people on paid parental leave, just to confirm, do employees still have to pay annual leave, long service leave, other entitlements during that paid parental, government funded paid parental leave period?
That in that circumstance, I'll send you the note because there's a couple of different caveats to it, Kirsten. I won't take too much, but I'll attach it to these notes, a clear understanding for it. So there's a couple of subject to conditionals upon on it. So good question, very good question. But I just want to take me a little bit longer to answer than just here, and I don't want to confuse people unnecessarily. I'll put it in writing for them. But thank you for asking that question. I mentioned earlier how important record keeping compliance is. And first and foremost, where a lot of you we talked about last time was, can I just include the start and finish time? Is that okay? Or no, you need to be able to maintain times when someone might start, when they have a break. And the reason they do that, particularly if there's a paid break that they're entitled to, I referenced that case involving KFC, whereby because there was no record of employees taking a 10-minute paid break, they were able to argue that they never got the 10-minute paid break. And we know that, I know because of one of the people I do work with, that most of the time they're out there and they'll say, hey, grab 5 minutes here, 7 minutes, they'll get probably longer than the time, but they didn't actually keep a record of it. And what that meant was, once employees were given information around, hey, you could be entitled to some compensation here. Well, of course, none of them could recall ever taking a break. And when it came, incredible, that isn't how their memory just seemed to be, just disappear. What the commission, in this case, because it went to court, or the Fair Work Ombudsman does, is they look at the records exist or not exist. If they don't exist, then they're more likely to fall in favour of the employee. It used to be that, well, if your employee can't prove something, well, then that's just unfortunate. Now the onus is on us to disprove it. So that's why it's important to make certain that you're looking at your record keeping. They're just so essential to have up to date and to make certain they're being filled out incorrectly. If people aren't doing it incorrectly, it's just the same as any other policy. If people aren't following your policies, you need to talk to them and say, hey, I need you to be filling this out. And if they say, oh, don't worry, it doesn't matter, nothing's going to happen. Well, nothing happens until it does happen, or it's not a problem until it becomes a problem. And when it becomes a problem is when there's a falling out, or they leave under set of circumstances, and then they look to see what they can recover from it. It's unfortunate that you sometimes have to have that perspective that employees might be looking to do that, but in some of the cases, they were the closest connection between two people that once the falling out happened, everything came as far as claims against that employer from an employee that they rated as the number one employee. But once the relationship disintegrated, all bets were off. So it's crucial when it comes to preventing risks. And the Fair Work Ombudsman, they literally, other than when they walk in and show you their badge, which is sort of a bit like the FBI badge or the SWAT badge, where they hold it out in front of you there, the second question they'll show you is, and ask you is, show me your timesheets. This is this part-time case, and I made note particularly around the fine. The fine was in the order of $230,000. It only impacted 3 people in one Woolworths store. And it really was just about linked to what I talked about earlier, credible timesheets, the business not following the way that the award required them to be kept, as far as hours set, the rostered hours clear. It had to be a change, then you'd reach agreement and you'd have some record of changing. They weren't able to produce any of this stuff because it was all done in a form of mutual agreement verbally. And so again, in the absence of anything written, once these employees were told, well, look, there's all these options for you to pursue the business, well, suddenly they were able to pursue them. And it was in many cases because they didn't have the right documentation to start with. So whatever you have, and whenever it comes to your documentation, again, another good time leading into, the start of the financial year, once your other stock take and other aspects of your business are put to bed, is just checking your paperwork. Do you have all the paperwork for each employee? Do you have your files up to date? Is there, sometimes they can go missing. Sometimes you thought they were in file A and they're not in file B, or vice versa. And just have a look what's there and make certain that they're up to date, and that depending on your set of circumstances, again, if you need changes or you want someone to look at them or you've got questions about it, that's where you can use us. Noting, again, the extent of the fine, very, very high, not just because of who they were, but more and more that the Fair Work Ombudsman is sending messages to large organisations and to small alike. It doesn't go up depending on the size of the organisation. They are pretty ruthless about what it is they want to do and how they want to send a message about what's expected and what standards we're all meant to follow. This was this first case that we mentioned previously, and this was about supervisor in the workplace banter. what was really apparent out of this was the case talked about, show me that you as a business had set the clear standards. Show me that you trained managers correctly. And this is not just doing a little, oh, we'll do an online here, go off and do that in your own time. And while you're watching, the World Cup soccer or some other event around the world, you're clicking answers to a quiz and you're watching Messi or someone else score goals over here, and you're doing a particular workplace harassment online module there. They're saying that you need something more interactive. You need something to know that you've actually spoken to somebody, that you can reference the fact that, hey, we've had a conversation, and yes, the employee acknowledges how important they are, not just a little bit of a tick and flick as they described this particular complaint. The other one was, again, responding promptly. We've got a great network of people, and if you're uncertain about a set of circumstances, you can always contact, Kirsten and her team first, and she can go, hang on a sec, we might need to elevate it, or we're here as a first point if necessary. But you do have the people to help you. What's just so critical is set the standards and don't let them drop. As soon as you start to let that first little comment go, or that little bit of banter over here, or that behavior over there, then it becomes very hard to stop, because a couple of things: people think they can get away with it. I'm dealing with that in an employer at the moment. So people start to say more because nothing happened to them. On the other side, and in this particular business, 2 females have left. 2 highly regarded females, because they said, what was the point of us staying? These comments were being made, nothing was happening, and we felt there was no alternative for us other than to leave, because they felt, well, if the company was not doing anything, the company was condoning those behaviours. So this business now has to go and find and attract and spend a lot of money getting 2 people into their business, find the right people, train them up, as well as having to deal with this other issue. So it's just so important, because it may be that you avoid harassment complaint, which it seems in this other case we did at this stage, but they've still lost 2 really good employees, and that will take money, time, and effort to replace them. So you might think, oh, we've had no harassment complaints in our business, isn't that terrific? What you do need to be aware of sometimes is the unintended consequences of, if it's allowed to go to a certain point, and I'm not suggesting that it is the case there with anyone here. It's just that I know it happens, and it happens because I'm actually dealing with the fallout in this particular organisation. And the days of where you're able to say, well, yes, I'm the employer, but I'm not responsible, that pendulum has swung all the way that way to where they say, tell me why you're not responsible. The starting position is that you should have been aware, or you should have known, or you should have done something. So the pendulum, it used to be, well, that was them, not me. Yep, good defence. It's all shifted over here as to, well, show me the standards you've set, show me the training you've done, show me what you do in your particular business. Becomes really important for you as individuals, to make certain you're doing everything you can to do. And if you've got any questions or queries, again, use the network of people we have here.
And again, Michael, just to confirm with all members that you have every bit of documentation that you need for the sexual harassment compliance. We've provided you with everything. It should be on the portal. And again, if you haven't got it, reach out. And what we're doing is we're already made plans with Joe Mason of Workhaven to do another webinar, probably in November, looking at sexual harassment, but we'll be providing like a test. So the idea is for you to use this sexual harassment training as a toolbox, where you get as many people in your company to participate, and then we'll have a test that they can do afterwards, and that you can, discussion points you can do as a toolbox meeting to show that you are complying with the necessary training around sexual harassment. So we'll be doing that probably in November again this year. Which will, of course, we'll let you know. But every bit of documentation that you need for sexual harassment training has been provided. It's important for you now to make sure you understand the documents that we sent, and not even just understand it, but implement it. So reach out if you need any assistance.
Super, great. And the suggestion of a Q&A and a test is a great idea. So kudos to you, Kirsten and the FTMA and Joe for thinking of something like that. Great initiative. There was some information sent out about this particular aspect not applying to everyone. Nothing's changed as of yet, not to say things may not change again. If there is any update to it, we'll make certain that we get those sent out to you straight away, sort of monitoring pretty frequently.
And Michael, if someone missed that update before 16th of June, can you explain it to them?
Again, you know what I'll do? I'll send it out.
That'd be great.
It's a long thing. Yeah, no, it's a longer thing, but a good reminder because, yeah, sometimes you might have missed it. And so we'll add it. The two things I'm going to add to the slides when I send them back to you. So we'll be able to have that all on the one sheet for everyone, which will be terrific.
Perfect. Thank you.
This is for our dear Victorian friends, and for those of you in other states of Australia can only sort of just close your eyes and blink, and you might have been some of those people that watched 60 Minutes last night and saw how some of the other aspects of this Victorian government are operating. But this is to do about the reminder. It's only now a couple of months away. Obviously, the smaller businesses, 15 or less, is July 2027. But for others, it's not far around the corner where people will start demanding, if they haven't already, to work from home. And there's going to be so much confusion and controversy as to how this will work and what it actually means, and the fact that it's meant to cover casual employees as well as part-time employees. And they haven't even worked that out yet. So you can see it's, in many respects, it's a clear grab for votes. But in the absence of anything that prevents it going through, which doesn't seem that there will be, then we'll have to deal with it in Victoria. And I'd imagine other states will monitor, not necessarily rush in and follow it, but you never know what can happen with other states when they see whether it's a great vote winner or whether it generates a lot of appeal, particularly for those Labor orientating states. So again, just a reminder, more information will come about that in due course.
And so in that information that's coming, Michael, it will have, I suppose, reasons for businesses to knock back people from working from home, and so what the employer's rights, if there are any, what the employer's rights are?
Yes, correct. So they'll be taking you through, and we're providing that as to what's involved. What's interesting is that I don't think they've worked out just how many places will get through, but instead of going to Fair Work Commission, it'll go to VCAT. So I don't know what your experience is like at VCAT. Anyone? Well, VCAT can be interesting. I better not cloud your judgment. Put it this way. It takes a long time to get something to VCAT, and even longer time to get something to be heard at VCAT. So I don't think they've really even thought that through in any broad capacity. But we'll provide you, how you can deal with it. But the bar will be very high as to what grounds you can use to knock back. But that doesn't mean we won't attempt and be strongly supporting businesses. But they'll make the bar so high that it'll be difficult. If it went to the VCAT, that VCAT will do nothing but support the employee's request.
Yeah, and it's really important for members to note, we had sent out information previously about your rights, from what you have to do for them working from home. So if people are working from home, we've got a policy there for them to sign off on and accept, making sure that everything that they're doing at home is right, because a lot of people can work from home and they don't have an ergonomic setup. And if they therefore do their back because they haven't got an ergonomic setup at home that you haven't enforced, you're liable. So it's really important that, and don't worry, it's really upsetting that there's been so much taken away from your rights as an employer in regards to employees' rights. But if you have an employee who is a bit disgruntled and they're working from home and you haven't made sure that their work site is safe, ergonomic, etc., you will be liable. And I reckon it'll be a hard argument. I'm sure you back me up, Michael. It'll be a very hard argument for an employer to go back and argue against an injury from a non-safe work site, like desk at home.
Oh, no question. No, and that's why what you mentioned and that access to that's so important. I think there's been a question come through. If there's a scheduled morning or afternoon tea, particularly in a factory, is that sufficient? You'd still need something that was clearly written down and or employees signed to say, yes, I acknowledge that I get a 10-minute or 15-minute morning tea and afternoon tea. Just having something that records it and the employee signed off to it will give you that evidence. Remembering in the absence of anything written down, and don't be surprised if someone says, no, I never had that morning tea. So the more that you can have someone just sign off and acknowledge the fact that that's what's happened, or it's captured somewhere enough so that in the event that someone were to challenge you, you can go, no, here's the clear evidence that this person agreed to it, knew it, and this is what happened. And here's the other examples of people that have agreed and signed in the same capacity.
So, for example, if I can put it forward to you like this, Michael, that if a company, said, right, here's the policy, we always break for morning tea at 10 to 10:30, 2 to 2:30, whatever, and these are the times, and everyone signs off on that, therefore they don't have to put that information on their timesheet, or they still have to put that information on their timesheet?
Best practice would be on the timesheet, but if it wasn't practicable to do, given the nature of the businesses, that would be the best way of doing it in the first instance, that they acknowledge and agree, and that they acknowledge that if there's any issues, they'll raise up with their manager if they're not getting those breaks. Yep.
Is there any other questions? You can take yourselves off mute and put yourself off mute and camera if you like. Otherwise, you can type in the questions. But so what we'll come back with, as I said, not only will we have the working from home protocols, the timesheet. We've got a draft timesheet, don't we, Michael, to share?
Yes, we did that last time. Yep. So the working from home protocols.
So, yep. Working from home protocols. We'll resend the timesheet because it is important that you get caught up with that. And as I said, you can go back and watch the same day super webinar that we did with HR Central and First Super, which is on the members only area.
We've also got the parental leave, paid parental leave from the government, and what leave accrues and what you need to do during that period.
Yes.
So we'll add that, and also we'll add the road transport contractual order as well. So you'll get a nice goodie bag of great HR information that I know you'll absorb and read, but most particularly know if you've got questions, that's what we're here to help you with. It's to be aware of these things. It's hard to expect you to know and understand the nuances of every particular nook and cranny that exists in these particular documents. But as long as you know, hey, I know I should be doing something here. What is it that I need to be doing correctly? Or I can't find it. I'll contact the association or contact us. Just that's part of it. I know it's not us asking you to do a Q&A on it as specifically as knowing all the rules and regulations, but knowing that, hey, I've got to do something about it, and that's what we're here to help you with.
Yeah, definitely. No worries. Well, thanks again, Michael. Great information. Everyone does have their wages. I sent them through.
Good. Thank you. Excellent.
Yeah, Thursday night I sent through the wage forms. Right. And as I said, any questions, you've got your info email address for the line, and of course they're available via the phone, but otherwise you can always email me and I'll come back to you with the information via HR Central. We've just signed another 12-month agreement with them. They've been doing an outstanding work, and I'd really like to congratulate Michael and Gabby in particular for the great support they've given our members. And this is a free resource. Yeah, it's a free resource for our members.
I do enjoy getting a phone call from you folks. I don't think, oh God, I'm calling. I do enjoy it. So don't think that you're causing us anything other than enjoyment, because we know how difficult it is. So, but thank you, Kirsten. I'll pass that on to Gabby as well.
No worries. Okay, everyone. Gilham, who was our intern, he's going to actually help us with the recording because Kat's on a 2-week holiday up in the Northern Territory. So Gil will send this recording through to me, and I'll distribute it with all the information once we get it from Michael. So thanks, everyone. Oh, hang on. Was that a chat or was it just saying? No, very informative.
Thanks. Beautiful.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Bye-bye, everyone. See ya.